Welcome back to Ball Hogs Radio. We're live on a Tuesday night, but you could also download us, as I'm sure many of you have, ballhogsradio.com and on iTunes, and always find us on Facebook and Twitter at Ball Hogs Radio.
Still a plug for us, Kevin.
We finally got a chance to talk some Redskins. I feel like it's been about a month break since without some solid Redskins news.
You can only talk RG3 so much.
Exactly. Okay, you're right. Yeah. We talked player, not so much team.
Yes.
So tonight, I think you guys were grasping a little bit with the cigarette gate, but
you know what? You actually are making you're making a good point, and I don't think you're mean to. Is it the fact that we've been so devoid of Redskins?
That's the only time I make a good point is when I don't mean to. By the way, Wilkes.
But is the fact that we've been so devoid of Redskins talk that when we get in the long run, coolly smoking a cigarette at a concert, it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a big deal.
No S, yeah.
But is it the fact that we've been so devoid of it? Like we saw something and we're like, yes.
But we are going to switch sports now because over the weekend we had a couple big events on the diamond. I'll leave it like that. Events on the diamond where the Battle of the Beltway happened. Of course, the Nationals took on the Orioles in a very good weekend for baseball. Wilkes, you and I talked about it on the Red Porch Report, which you can also download the podcast at Ball Hogs Radio. I think, though the Orioles took 2 of 3 from the Nationals, I think both teams have something to be happy about after going into what ended up being what we called a heavyweight battle, over the weekend.
I mean, no one walked away disappointed. I don't think the Nats walked away disappointed. It was could have gone anyway. The only person who really walked away disappointed was Brian Woodburn of Must Rock the Red because
had to change his avatar. I saw a couple people that had changed their avatars.
He's rocking the Orioles avatar.
Reminds me of Kirby every time I see it now.
It's
driving me crazy.
Yeah, but before we get to that heavyweight bout, I think there was also a heavyweight bout, a little bit more local, that our very own Adam Bradley got to be a part of. It was a celebrity softball game, the Big Train softball game in Bethesda.
Tricked one more person into believing we're celebrities.
Seriously, so how'd you get invited?
Who's going to pay over there? So, Bradley, tell us about it.
Bad planning on their part, and they were admitting to it. At the exact same time of Orioles Nationals game in D.C., you play the Big Train.
Too.
Strasburg pitching, the final game of a home set. You got all these people that typically would be out there covering it.
Sure.
Because there were a couple people that commented, but I think that affected the crowd. The crowd wasn't.
I'm sure it did.
Nearly as big.
100% it did.
Wasn't nearly as big.
So
they said they got to work on that next year.
People have been loafing around Bethesda.
Is it
with
possible that
it would have gone?
It was also one of the really actually first nice days we've had in a while? Does that actually hurt it in a way?
All right, so
potentially.
So celebrity softball game, we get it.
Yeah.
I know there was a big event that sort of happened. Explain the turning point.
If you've been on Twitter, you've seen tweets from all different players about the drama and all that. Couple of interesting parts. First off, it was a lot more competitive than I thought it would be. I actually was going to it thinking, do I play hard? Do I run hard to first base?
Was there anybody smoking cigarettes?
Nobody was smoking cigarettes, okay? But it was cool, mingling and during batting practice and stuff like that and watching all these guys. And Randall L., clearly the loudest guy on the field.
Was there anybody hitting bombs in batting practice?
Nobody was hitting bombs except for Kevin from Kevin and Rock. Kevin was the best player on the softball. He plays 2 or 3 times a week, he said.
Gotcha.
And he hit it in the park home run for us.
That's a busy man.
That dude, he
full-time job 3 or 4 times a week. Then he's on the radio 2 or 3 times a week.
He's putting out fires all the time.
He's a firefighter.
He's running around.
So he gets 3 days on.
Kevin is the fire. That's right.
They do it once a week with 106.7. So he was killing it. But Randall L. actually got drafted as a baseball player, I learned. Because he was on point. He was crow hopping.
Was he a pitcher? Because obviously quarterback at Indiana.
He was playing short, and he was money. But anyways, there was one play. There was a guy named Travis Lay from American University. I don't know him exactly, but big white guy. He got up. I'm playing center field. This is, I think, the 3rd inning. He hits a bomb to center field. All right, I'm already nervous. I got this guy texting me beforehand saying, don't embarrass us.
Are you out there panicking a little bit?
I mean, listen.
When was the last time you played softball?
I mean, probably a year or so.
So you're feeling a little bit rusty.
A little bit, but I got out there in the beginning, took some fly balls, whatever.
Sure.
But so I go deep. The fence, if you've ever seen those pickup softball games, they're those tent cards signed.
See, I think that's when I first read about it, it didn't make sense because I've been to that stadium.
Sure.
So it was short of actually the actual.
It wasn't the actual fence. It was in, and there was these Powerade signs that looked like tent cards, big tent cards.
I know exactly what you're talking
about. They probably stand about 1.5 feet high. I literally, the ball goes deep. you can't see my fingers here, but I'm like an inch away from literally being a highlight film in the wrong reason by running full speed and then stumbling over the Powerade sign.
That would be the one thing I would
we would
least want you to do.
That would have it would have reminded me.
I would most wanted you to do.
No.
That's embarrassing, dude. Like that becomes the talk of the town.
The very catch-22 because he's not out there as if he was out there as Adam Bradley, regular Joe.
Yeah.
It would have been funny.
Yeah.
But he's out there as Ball Hogs Radio's
Yep.
Adam Bradley.
I would have had more fun making fun of you about it than you actually. Did you make the catch?
Well, I made the catch, but as I was making, I was basically jumping over the Powerade sign as I was making the catch.
Right.
It was kind of like a simultaneous thing. So where do you make the call on that? You're kind of catching as you're in the air, but you're
also
you're jumping over the sign because
you're
you're
basically
it's-
over the home run area.
So I'm
You're-
like
you're over
looking,
the
and
fence.
I was like, I gotta jump because I'm gonna hit the sign. So I kind of jumped up, caught
You
it.
landed in home run territory?
I landed in home run territory, but there wasn't a fence there because if there was a fence there,
Right.
I would have had to actually climb the fence,
Right.
Or maybe even just jumped and hit the fence,
Right.
I mean,
So-
I would probably.
So what happened?
In
So
softball, I'd
they
probably
caught-
give you the benefit
There
of
was
the
a
doubt.
big debate. All right, I held the ball up, but then they only had a home plate umpire. Big
Right.
mistake on their part. They needed more out there. Okay, I'm holding it up, saying catch. They're debating it. The ump's kind of like processing. He calls it a home run, and then all of a sudden, our team just flips out it's ridiculous. I think it's a tough call.
It is a tough call.
It's a tough call.
I would probably give the benefit of the doubt to you because
I made the catch.
Because you made the catch and it was close. If you go by baseball rules, if you catch it and you go over the wall, it's a home run.
But you're right. But this is a different wall.
I understand.
And the wall's not even actually solid because there's gaps
I
in
guess the
between the
question-
sign. So
I would have
think
compromised and called it
'cause
a double.
If you were,
You can't just make it a home run.
If there was
that's
a
actually a great point. That's what probably should have
if
happened.
there was a wall, would you have just?
I would have had to attempt to climb.
Would
it.
you have just? Would you have to climb it, or would you just run full speed and knock yourself out against it?
No, I would have hand out. It would have been real awkward.
Were there people on base, or was that a solo shot?
That was a 2-run shot.
Oh,
2-run
dagger.
shot in a low-scoring game. But then the big play was Dave Ross going home. He went underneath the tag.
I watched it.
He
5
hands
times.
down, went
He definitely
underneath the
went
tag. That would have tied the game, and that was in the bottom of the 5th, and we were only playing 6. And you could see the Wise's reaction, and that actually cleared the bench to the point where you have Phillip Daniels in there pushing people, like
Just manhandling.
Right.
people.
manhandling
just
people.
chucking people aside.
But all in all, it was cool. Like Angela Rippon, going to get her in studio here soon. All right, she committed to it. So
Did you stalk her the whole time?
I went out when they were hitting ground balls in batting practice. Everyone was just kind of talking in little groups around the field. I started with Shelvin Mack. We chatted for a while. Shelvin Mack was nervous as all get out about the game, thinking he was going to strike out because he went to a high school game or a high school practice when he was at Butler. His senior year is like a charity thing, and they put him in the batting cage, and he didn't hit the ball once, he said.
In the batting cage for fast pitch, or
Like a high school pitcher was throwing batting practice to him.
I know.
I mean, I couldn't do that.
But I'm saying he was embarrassed.
Right.
Like, he was nervous.
I know tons of guys. I play basketball, and it says
It doesn't translate
The
well.
basketball does not translate to softball.
No.
The swing of the bat and the shooting of a jumper, it's not the same mental.
Well,
But as for Rippon, she was out in right field just kind of chilling. So I obviously made my way out there and said hi to her, caught up. So
basically, you also had a group of idiots that would leave the hottest girl within 10 miles by herself in right field.
yeah.
they were all intimidated.
I mean, Julie Donaldson was out there. Kristen Bursett
then
was
there you
out
go.
there.
So
So there
were
were
a lot
other
of
girls.
hotties,
There
a
were
lot
other
of
girls.
hotties. All right, real quickly then, as we transition
Yeah.
to the Natsos, either athlete or media person that surprised you in a good way with their talent.
I guess Kevin Schaefer, but I'll skip on him. But
Okay.
I mean, I guess Randall L. Randall L was good. Because there was a part during batting practice that I was playing first base and they were hitting ground balls and stuff. He caught there was a single or a line drive up the middle, and he was in center, and he caught it and then crow hopped.
Now you know what I'm going
Threw
to
it
ask.
from center to first base.
He was a quarterback.
Every time.
I know, but I didn't know who it was at first because he had his hat on low.
Every
and he
time-
threw a bullet.
rocket.
Every
A
time he caught a
rocket.
ball from in center field, did he just dance left, dance right, and then fall down?
Yeah, well, he played shortstop. But no,
he
I
played
feel you.
shortstop.
That's funny.
Okay.
He played shortstop.
Did
But
anybody
he
look-
threw it on to the point where I said, "Who the heck is that?"
Right.
And because I couldn't tell who it was.
Did anybody look like they didn't belong whatsoever?
Tons.
Just-
I mean, just
just bumbling idiots.
Well, Lorenzo looked like he most belonged because he was the only one decked out in actual full baseball uniform.
What if I told
you baseball pants
that
Kendrick Olson was bigger than I thought too?
What if I told you that Anton Randall was drafted in the 14th round of the 19th?
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I found out that he was.
Did you listen to anything we said?
I wasn't.
He first said he was drafted, and I said, yeah, he played quarterback. And
if I told you what I was doing, you guys would literally laugh at me if I told you what I was doing right there.
Were you checking the schedule for The Bachelor or something?
I was actually checking the schedule for the WNBA. So, because I'm going to a Mystics game this year.
We need to move on from that quickly.
Do you have anybody to go with you? I'll meet you down there. I'll meet you at Verizon Center.
I'm picking a game right now, so I'm going to... And I don't know why it matters to me which game I can go to. But I actually
make it a good one. I'll go with you.
See LA. You got to see LA. When's LA play?
There's one player that I actually know, Lindsay Whalen, because she used to play at the University of Minnesota, and I kind of want to see her play, but I don't know what team she plays on.
You don't know Diana Taurasi?
Yeah, but everyone wants to.
Phoenix. She with Phoenix.
What
about LA? When's LA come? LA's always a draw, a good draw crowd wise.
I mean, they always have the top three
September
players.
September 7th.
WNBA.
Well, that's near football season. No thank you.
So let's transition now to the big boys, the real professional baseball players. The Nats and O's had a Battle of the Beltway series this weekend. Wilkes, I know we talked about it a lot over the weekend on our Red Porch Report, but we can get a chance to talk about it, a little bit again here. So I'll ask you the same question, but I'll leave it open that you can kind of talk about your O's team as well. What are some of the things that you took from the series from both teams?
I mean, I think they're both evenly matched. I thought. I mean, you saw. I liked the fact that the Orioles played the Nationals type of game, and were able to play that type of game. When I can see the Orioles winning like 2-1 games, that bodes well. That bodes well for a long run because I know the hitting is there, the power hitting is there. Obviously, the pitching worries me, but if we can win close games like that, that bodes well. Obviously, a guy like Mattis showing up like that too. Considering, I think he had the worst year by a major league pitcher ever.
Yeah, I mean, by statistical analysis, yes, I do believe that was correct.
But when you say something, anytime you break any record in baseball, it's amazing because baseball's been going around for like 100. It's been around for like 150 years.
Yeah.
So it almost seems improbable that you could have the worst season ever. But Mattis managed to do that. I think the Nats surprised me in Game 3. It was a kind of essentially maybe a must-win game for them. They came out guns blazing. They showed they have obviously the power. I mean, recently they started hitting home runs. I think they led the league in home runs in May or something crazy like that. So overall, good series. I think we have two teams that are probably going to be around for a while.
Man,
Strasburg hitting home run was
that's such a crazy statement because if we talked about this in March. You know what I mean? The O's were not even a pop.
Kevin asked me what it would take to get to 70 wins, and I said a lot of luck. And
remember that ESPN the magazine where they had the best case and the worst case, and even the best case was like
our best
last
case scenario
place
was,
by like
the
10
best
spots.
Case scenario was last place 72 wins.
Crazy. best case scenario.
And me and Kevin kind of talked about the only thing that scares me about the Orioles is that their pitching staff has a bunch of guys who are playing well, but they don't have a stopper. In a sense that Steven Strasburg is a stopper. If the Nats are sliding, Strasburg goes, it ends today.
Or a coach needs to throw a man another game in a 7-game series to basically do the Randy Johnson, where you always got that. I'm gonna throw CC today. If he has to pitch 3 games because we can like.
And then
who is it?
And then the Orioles don't have that guy. They have a bunch of guys who are pitching either. Like, you think I trust Jake Arrieta on the mound? Like, Y.E. Chen got punished. The Nats killed him.
Well, who knows? Maybe they go after somebody like that. I mean, if you remember, Cliff Lee moved at the deadline a few years back, made an impact.
True. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know.
But, they're still, obviously they've lost 2 straight, so hopefully they can get a win here tonight. But this is probably the most fun I've had watching the Orioles ever.
Is it when it comes to specifically the Orioles and the Nationals? Is it a rivalry or is it just a fun weekend?
It's a fun weekend.
It's a fun weekend.
I agree.
It's fun.
Actually,
what was your roommate saying, Steve?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. That gets me fired up. I don't want. He actually compared it to his 2 kids needing to fight it out to find out who you love more. because he
yes, he compared it to his kid.
Yeah, he actually somehow has fandom for both teams, which I find difficult, but some people can do it.
Split.
I read an article about that today. It was on
Really?
It was on Mr.
Where?
Relevant.
Okay.
And it was a guy who wrote in about having dual fan duality of liking the Nationals and the Orioles, essentially the same, and not thinking anything.
Steve used an analogy of having two kids, in essence, fighting over his love when he's going to love them both the same regardless.
And the Orioles were the older child, and the Nationals were the younger child.
That's funny.
I actually kind of like that.
I mean, I giggled, and then I said, "Oh wait, I hate you for liking both teams." Because I literally then asked him. My response to that was, and look, I know I joke. I don't care who everybody likes. It's not a big deal to me. But I said, so literally, no matter who won this weekend, you didn't care at all. Like no feeling whatsoever. You just wanted to see good baseball. I mean, what is that?
What was your percentage?
I mean, that's
what
stupid.
was your percentage owes to Nats? With your desire to win.
Wilkes, you're clearly an O's fan first.
It is 100%.
It was 100%.
And me, it's 100%. And I don't root against the Orioles, but I promise you,
I wanted those to win so bad.
I do not care whatsoever about what they do.
It was.
I just don't.
A big part of it was just cool on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter to see everybody with their mixed jerseys.
Sure.
All the friends who get to hang out who are differing fans.
I think Bill Ripken in his raspy voice did mention this though, that the orange and red doesn't differentiate themselves enough in the color with the crowd. Like when you look out in the crowd and it's like red and orange, they kind of blend with one another compared to if it was like yellow and black.
Right.
I would have loved to seen that where you could actually see clear divisions in the crowd. I
just think it was good that 120,000 people. I mean, the weather was.
It was a good weekend for baseball. Up and down,
but the fact that 120,000 people came out for that series, it bodes well for this area, and hopefully when they meet again, it's much later in the year. There'll be much more on the line. Hopefully, get that many people out in Camden Yards.
You know what got my attention? Actually, what Kevin tweeted during the Saturday night's game. You made a comment just about how good the Orioles' bats were. And that actually kind of got my attention because it just, is this for real? Are these bats for real on the Orioles thing, on the Orioles roster?
If they don't have the power numbers, if the power numbers don't stay, this team will die.
The one comparison, or when you compare and contrast the two lineups, whether it was just for that weekend or not, because I don't know how well Xavier Avery is going to do for the rest of the season. But the things when you look for in a lineup are somebody at the top that can get on base, and then somebody in that 3-hole that is an absolute terror to get out. And the Orioles had both of those things. Xavier Avery killed us all weekend, and Adam Jones, you just cannot get that man out. I mean, you just can't.
Obviously, I was jumping the gun. Have you ever thought about the Jones-Weeder being a Ramirez or Ortiz? Remember how powerful that 3 and 4 was? They're different players, but I'm talking about just the power of those two and the influence of those two in a lineup.
I mean, it definitely helps.
I mean, you're on the right track. Both are fantastic players, but I don't know if at any point they will
be as scary.
It's a little bit of an unfair comparison, I think, on the other end to compare it to Manny and Ortiz.
If Mark Reynolds was having even a typical Mark Reynolds,
boy.
I hate him because he doesn't. But Mark Reynolds is only worth his value if he's crushing 35 home runs.
Right.
You give him the 220 strikeouts and the 240 average because he's going to
240 average.
Yeah, I'm high side.
Yeah,
that's real high side. And it's also from a Nationals fan's
perspective. Isn't that crazy that you can stay in the league
batting at I thought his average was under 2.
But just batting 220 year after year and striking out 200 times, and he'll be in the league forever.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You see, I tweeted Adam Jones' conversation from back in preseason or training camp.
We talked about his numbers, yeah.
Which was he not right on?
What did he say? You retweeted, and I didn't understand what he said.
I said, this is what we predicted. Remember, we were going over predictions, and I said, this is what we project you ending up this year. Right. 295, 26 or something home runs, 95 RBIs.
I think we gave him pretty good numbers.
We gave him decent numbers.
But then all he said was, it doesn't matter if they were winning.
He said, I always expect higher. Y'all can project what you want. And I said, okay, well, if this is how you end up, will you be content? And he said, I'm only concerned with winning because if we're winning, my numbers will be there. Which is interesting because it's kind of playing out like they're
I
winning
guess.
and his numbers are better than ever. And he said, I just want to win because if we're winning, that means my numbers will be there. And guess what? They're winning, and his numbers are better than he ever could have imagined.
I guess so. I mean, I think it works the same way
It's
too.
a chicken and egg.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Like,
if
if
they're
his
winning
numbers
because
weren't
he's
there,
so
then
good.
would they be winning?
Well, I mean, but he's basically.
That's why
I see what you're saying, but at the same time, like.
Are his numbers good because they're winning? Or
he could have.
Are they winning because his numbers are good?
He could have numbers, but they could still be losing.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
He
like,
could be having a good year, but they could suck.
he could be having a good year, but he's.
Andre Blatch.
I guess
Yeah,
he
It could be,
I
it
felt
could be
like,
Andre Blatching it.
I felt like he looked at it as saying, like, if my numbers are there, like if we're winning, it's going to be because my numbers are there and I'm in the middle of the lineup and I'm performing and producing. You know what I mean? Hey, anyways, I mean, the dude's about to have those numbers that we projected at the All-Star break.
All right, Kevin. I'll
Pretty good,
I'll
yeah.
throw the same question back at you.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway from the Nationals?
My takeaway was that we still have some serious holes in our lineup. Now, at some point, it sounds like an excuse, but at some point you say, well, this team needs to get a little bit healthier. And what I mean by that is at the the way that a consistent lineup in Major League Baseball is built, you need a couple of those things, like somebody who can get on base at the top, plus a consistent hitter in the 3-hole and then a power guy in the 4-hole. Adam LaRoche has been fantastic, and Wilkes, we talked about this, and it sounded like we were bashing the poor guy, but unfortunately he didn't show up on really all weekend. I know he had 3 walks on Sunday, but he didn't show up, and a sac fly on Sunday too. But Friday and Saturday, if it's one of those things where yes, it could have been that simple. If Adam LaRoche has a hit each day, the Nationals probably win both those games, at least on Friday, because he had plenty of opportunities with men in scoring position and just did not come through. Look, that's going to happen, but the fear that I have, you have some fears about the Orioles, I have some fears about the Nationals, obviously for many reasons, but they almost have to be perfect. They can't make mistakes in the middle of a game because they cannot make up for it with their bats. They cannot make up for it. The Orioles can make up for mistakes because one swing of the bat by Adam Jones and it's look, 3 on the board, done. Nationals don't always have that. They have some people that can hit home runs, and they do. The numbers, though, I'd be interested in looking into them to see how many of those were with runners on base and how many of those were solo home runs. Because that's, I think, what the Orioles, besides just hitting home runs, they do. They get guys on base and then they make them count when they hit those home runs. So, taking from the Nationals, though the Nationals felt, though it was a 2-1 series, I for some reason I feel like the Orioles really outplayed the Nationals, and yet when you look at it, it was an extra innings win on Friday and a 1-run game on Saturday, and the Nationals just laid the wood to the O's on Sunday. So fantastic that Strasburg was able to adapt. We talked about that. Struggled again in the first inning, but was able to overcome it. Completely shut down the Orioles after that, and our whole bullpen did. Didn't have to worry about H-Rod too much, which is always a good sign.
Well, now you don't have to worry about him at all.
Yeah. So it was a good series. You always want to win a series. But to lose 2 of 3 like that, the important win was Sunday. And we mentioned that. The important win was Sunday. Get a win for Strasburg. Get a convincing win. Didn't want to have a 2-1 extra inning win on the Nats side on Sunday.
Reaction when Strasburg hits the home run.
I was down here. I started on the left side of the room, and by the time he finished the bases, I was on the complete other side of the room.
What, jumping?
Hands in the air, screaming.
I'll tell you a story. So I'm out.
It was one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time.
Out doing stuff in the back, and I'm watching the game through my back door, and I see Strasburg on deck, but I thought he was up to bat. So I see this guy hit a home run, and it's Flores, and I'm like, oh, great, Strasburg hit a home run. Unfreaking believable. Like, this is really the home. I was like, oh, never mind, it was Flores. That's going to happen. And then Strasburg gets up next, belts a home run. And as soon as that happened, I was like, this game is toast.
Toast.
Fair
enough. So, Battle of the Beltways, when's the next series for that?
End of June,
It's
I believe.
in Baltimore.
Or the third week in June. Yeah, I think
in
June
Baltimore.
18th, 19th, maybe
Okay.
20th, something like that.
So the Nats fan will be able to check out a fun ballpark at that time. Kidding.
No, I've never said anything bad
Biasness.
about Camden Yards.
Biasness over here.
I like Camden
Well,
Yards.
coming up after the break, we have Tyler Nguyen, the winner of the 106.7 The Fan
If
golf
his last name
contest.
is Nguyen, I'm really just gonna
Nguyen. Like
gonna
Dan
fumble you.
Nguyen.
N-G-Y-U-N.
Nguyen.
Normally it's Nguyen. Yeah, normally it's Nguyen, not Nguyen.
Tyler Nguyen.
Nguyen, yes.
It's probably
Nguyen.
Tyler Wynn.
Isn't that Nguyen?
I think
Isn't
I
there a
don't
slight
think you
win?
say all that.
We'll
I think
find
just so
out.
he
But
wins.
Tyler
you
Gwynn.
with names always makes me laugh. So
I
I mean,
agree. Either way, he'll be coming up.
I'll probably be betting against
I do
you.
know how to say Tiger Woods, and that is who
There
we
you
spent
go.
the day with yesterday. So we're gonna dig in, see what Tiger was really like.
I'm actually excited to hear from him.
Yeah, so I'm anxious to kind of get the inside scoop. So we'll try to get some nuggets. Ball Hogs, that for the break.
You might be so